Oh, long day today. So, tonight, I welcome everyone here who's going to watch this with me live and who will watch this later on to the season finale of the monocolor budget build idea discussions. So, tonight will be the mono red builds. So, mono red, of course, a lot of the builds are based on basically the turn and burn, essentially. So dealing a basically gradual damage, whether quickly or slowly, depending on how you want to do it. Now, other ways we're going to be doing this is either direct or indirect. So in other words, with combat damage or with non-combat damage. So first one we're going to talk about, or at least I'm going to be discussing today, is Rograk, the son of Roga. So this is a very, very interesting commander card, a very, very interesting legendary card. It's a 0-cost card. Yes, you heard that correctly. 0. Zilch. Nada. What that means for as a commander card is that basically he's in your command zone, turn 1, play it for free. Ta-da! He's very interesting, but here's the deal. He's a 0-1. That's right, a 0 power, 1 defense, but it has first strike, menace, trample. So this card is designed for basically what's called a Voltron build. Basically concentrate anything and everything upon him, whether it's protection spells, buffs, equipments, enchantments even, and basically put everything on him and you go for it. So a couple ideas here. We'll discuss some equipments here. Now, to start off with, a great one for him, or any sort of Voltron build beyond this, if you also wish to do, is the Armory of Ioris, I believe is how it's pronounced. I might be pronouncing it wrong. So, hello there, Mr. John. Hello there, Ivy, I believe. Yes. Hello, Ivy. How are y'all doing? Welcome, welcome all. Hello there. Hello, hello. Live in the U.S. Live in Michigan, to be precise. That's thank you for that question there. Let me see if I can do this right. Casey app. Brianna, Carla, hello, hello. So, as I was saying before, as starting off with, I'm doing well, thank you, thank you. So, as I was saying before, with Roga, son of Rogak, the equipment here in particular, the Armory of Ioris, okay? It's an equipment card for 2 at a cost of 2. So whenever the equipped creature attacks, you put a 1/1 counter upon it. Talking Magic the Gathering. So thank you for joining us. This is the live talk show that I discuss about deck ideas. Thank you for the question there. So it's going to be budget builds in particular. So what we're going on with here is essentially talking about if you walked into a game shop and you had, say, $20 and that's all you got to work with, this is the kind of stuff that I'm kind of throwing out there as thoughts and ideas that you could just look up and perhaps even feel inspired about doing it yourself as well. So, pressing on as well here. Thank you, Ivy, for that question as well. So, the advantage here with the Armory, so with Roga having 0 power, I have not seen that. No, I have not. Let's see. I'm not familiar with the Digital Circus, Jennifer. Thank you. So I'll have to check them out at some point. So with Rogog having 0 power, the Armory allows you to, each time that he attacks, essentially to get a +1 to his power into his defense as well, which is a cumulative. It stacks every single time, every time you attack with. Now, having first strike matters because first strike means essentially when he attacks and goes into a creature that's being blocked by him, he deals his damage first. So this really matters, and especially with him being a 0-cost card to play. Excuse me, 0-cost card to play him. Let's see. I do have 40K. This is kind of my once a month channel there. Thank you, Studio Fufu. Yes, for that. So I do this once a month to kind of like break up my monotony as well. Yes, I do this to break up the monotony a little bit for myself. So, and also to see if anyone else would like to keep discussing on the Magic the Gathering topics. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jennifer, for liking and subscribing. Thank you. So, continuing on as well here with the discussions here. Another great equipment you could use for Rogog is a card called Grappling Hook. It is a 4-cost equipment card. Let's see. Yes, I did see that, Studio. I did see that for the update. It's going to be interesting on that one for sure. So, basically, the equipped creature will gain double strike in this particular case for the card here. Now, this is very interesting because, yes, he has first strike is great, but double strike is even better because that means not only will he deal the damage first, but he deals the damage twice in a row, so doubling the power essentially. Now, whenever the equipped creature attacks, you can also have the target creature block this card if it's able to. So that means essentially if you want to prevent Rogog from being destroyed by something that's even tougher or more powerful than he is at the time, you go, oh no, I'll just pick that, bring that in, and then that creature gets the brunt of it instead of anything else, which is really pretty good, and it matters as well. But if you really want to prevent anything from happening to him, another great one is Mage Bane Armor. Played Hollow Knight. I have not played Hollow Knight. I'll have to check into that as well. The Mage Bane Armor, in this case, a 3-drop equipment. Again, this is a lot of artifacts that you'll hear about. There will be a couple other cards here and there, but it'll be a lot of equipment discussion here in this particular segment for now. Okay. Good to know, Studio. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for the suggestion. I'll have to check it out. So Mage Armor gives the equipped creature a +2/+4, but it loses flying, which doesn't matter. Rogog doesn't have flying anyway. But you prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to the equipped creature. So this also matters because at instant speed, so in other words, when you attack and someone could try to remove Rogog by dealing him damage before he gets a chance to do anything, Mage Bane Armor is a great way of preventative piece to do that with. Now, another great one is the Infantry Shield. This is going to give him some buddies to work with. So it's for 2 colorless and a red. So for 3 total mana. Equipped creature has Menace, but again, he already has Menace, so that's irrelevant. But it has Mobilize X, where X is its power. So now here's an interesting thing with how interactions kind of work. Essentially, if you have triggers stack on each other, you get to choose which one goes first. So with the case of, say, the Armory of Ironis, that gives a +1/+1 counter when the creature attacks, then Infantry Shield, which allows you to create a number of tapped and attacking tokens. They're 1/1 tokens to be precise, equal to the power. So basically, if you try to swing with Rogog and Infantry Shield when he's 0 power, it doesn't do anything. However, you can have the Ironis trigger happen first, so it gets at least 1. Then it gives you 1 tapped and attacking creature. Now, as this goes on, it continues going and stacking upon itself. So, now the creatures themselves from Infantry Shield go away at the end of the turn, but again, throwing in the extra creatures with him basically making it harder for your opponents to deal with over time, can really make a huge, huge difference. Now, now here's another way you can try to utilize the slowly building power of everything else with Rogog here as you go on. It's an enchantment aura. So think of an enchantment aura is similar to, say, it's an enchantment meets equipment is what an enchantment aura is for anyone who has never played before or is starting to learn. It's a card that's called Pain for All. This is the enchantment aura. 2 colorless and 1 red. When this aura enters, the creature deals damage equal to its power to another target. Then from there, whenever creature is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to each opponent. Now, so if you are able to have Rogok survive in some way, shape, or form, basically you give him indestructible, for example. Indestructible prevents him from being destroyed in any means outside of being exiled, basically. But if you can prevent the exaltation of him and say he gets dealt 5 damage, guess what? Now he's dealing 5 damage back to not only the person that tried to remove him by damage, but also to everyone else around the table as well. That's pretty interesting, and very, very useful. Now, some other ways to utilize the first strike or double strike, as we have mentioned in a card already. There's a type of effect called the Death Touch. So Death Touch means basically doesn't matter if your creature gets destroyed. Death Touch means as long as it's dealt damage, the creature that dealt the damage to him goes with it. So, Gorgon's Head. It's a 1-drop artifact. Again, this is all equipment. Equipped creature will gain Death Touch. Very basic, very straightforward, very simple, and it costs 2 to equip it to a creature. So, that's a pretty good one. Another one that can really do something is Banshee's Blade is another. It's a 2-drop artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each charge counter on this equipment. Now, charge counters is another mechanic in Magic the Gathering that has basically anything. It's like 1/1 counters, but it doesn't do much of anything unless it has specific to the card buffs. But whenever a quick creature deals combat damage, put a charge counter on the equipment. So this is where the first strike, and the Death Touch can matter in this case, because he's dealing the damage, he's destroying creatures, and basically he's getting stronger with every card that's being destroyed. Every creature he deals with in combat to the Banshee Blade, adding more counters over time. So that's kind of the idea with the Voltron. It's basically putting cards on him to buff him up slowly over time and get him to the point where he's literally like basically he is either impossible to ignore and impossible to remove. Those are kind of the ideas there for a Voltron build. Now, that's some cards that can do that. There are many, many, many more. So, the next card also kind of goes into this, can kind of work tangent with each other. You will see that a lot of the monocolor discussions that I've had also in the previous 4 is that there will be cards that literally can go hand in hand. They're interchangeable, or even you can use it all together if you so wish. So, but the next one that you want, if you want to do it by itself, Magda, the Brazen Outlaw. She is a dwarf berserker. It came out of a D&D set, I believe. But it's for 1 colorless and a red. As a 2 power, 1 defense. Now, other dwarves you can control get a +1/+0. I mean, that's one thing if you want to do a dwarf build. There are dwarf cards out there. I can't think of the exact number. I think there are 1 or 2. Correct me if I'm wrong later on here. Dwarf cards that say you can have. I think there's one that allows you to have 7. I think it's the 7 dwarves card or something like that. But I digress. But Whenever a dwarf you control becomes tapped, create a treasure token. So what a treasure token is basically it's a artifact token that allows you sacrifice it and you can get a mana of any color. Just one, but it matters. Now, if you get 5 treasure tokens, you sacrifice 5 of these, search your library for an artifact or a dragon, put the card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Hey, that's pretty good. Basically, sacrifice 5 tokens, basically 5 mana, search your deck, and put it on the battlefield for free. Yeah. Now, there's some high-end cards there's a couple cards that I wanted to put out there because it will matter at some point down the road where you can have the ability to sacrifice things if you so wish. So, Thopter Assembly. This is one. It's a 6-drop. Again, artifact creature. It's a 5/5. Now, here's what's interesting. Thopter Assembly has a great thing you can do with Magna here. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control no other Thopter than the Thopter Assembly on your side of the board, you return that Thopter Assembly back to your hand. Then you make 5 1/1 Thopter tokens, artifact creature tokens. So these are 1/1 creatures tokens with flying. Now, you can't simply, obviously, you can't like repeat this like over and over and over. You can only get it out of it once because it has to be the only one in the field. But not a bad way to go. Another great one, the 3-fold Thunderhulk. This came out of the Ixalan, the Caverns of Ixalan set. It's a 7-drop. So again, using Magda's ability to bring out these high-cost artifacts from your deck to the battlefield for free with her ability is really good. But it's a gnome. It's an artifact creature gnome for 0 power, 0 toughness. Now, under normal circumstances, anything with 0 toughness would automatically die. But, hold on, there's an ability that helps with this. This creature will enter with 3 1/1 counters, so it'll become a 3/3 golem when it hits the battlefield. Then, whenever this creature enters or attacks, create a number of 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature tokens equal to its power. All right. Then pay 2, and this is instant speed as well. Sacrifice another artifact, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. Now, remember when I was talking about the Thopter Assembly before? This is where these two can go hand in hand really, really well and easily. So, now a matter of trying to get those treasure tokens, we'll get there. There's a couple things I wanted to bring up that you can utilize her ability for. Now, Replicating Ring. Here's another one that can work with the Thunderhulk because it gives you something down the line. Replicating Ring for 3 mana. It's basically a mana rock. However, it's a very interesting mana rock. Tap and add 1 mana of any color, right? Mana rock. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a night counter on it. Then, if it has 8 or more counters on it, night counters on it, remove all of them and then create 8 token copies. So now you have not only the original ring, Replicating Ring card, now you have 8 more. You just got 9 mana. All right. Now it has to be on now. A way to take care of this is basically an ability called Proliferate. Proliferate means you get to choose any counters on anyone's field, including your own, and you can add an additional. Okay. This is where a card called Surge Conductor comes into play. And this is how you can utilize Magna to take advantage of his ability to therefore build into Replicating Ring and build into the Thunderhulk. And so you see, so basically the idea here that I'm pitching out to you guys is that you basically start with a thought, and then you go through what the abilities do and how you can find cards to interact with each other in a really good way. So Surge Conductor says whenever another non-token artifact you control enters, proliferate. So for example, you have Replicating Ring. If you get the copies do not trigger Surge Conductor. However, the original one will do that. But that's where having even cheap artifacts can help you too to get this going as well. And there's a good chunk of there are a few 0 drops and 1 drops, excuse me, that do have uses if you look long enough into everything. So to build on Surge Conductor. Now, another good one. Now, she also does dragons as well for her search ability, which is very fun. Now, there is one that's in one of the next guys as well I'll be discussing because it will matter with him more so. However, I'm going to put him in here because he's going to matter. One dragon is Ganax the Astral Hunter. Again, this came out of a D&D set, the Baldur's Gate set to be precise. 4 colorless, 1 red. He is a legendary creature dragon. He's a 3, power 3, toughness 4. So whenever he or another dragon you control enters, create a treasure token. So this is another way that you can take care of getting those treasure tokens, having dragons come in, right, off of Magda's ability, because all I have to do is enter. It's not a cast ability. It's an enter ability. So putting him out there, but then, of course, there's a nice other one that can really do some devastating damage pretty quickly as well here. The Tyrant's Familiar. Again, this is another dragon. It's 5 colorless, 2 red. So if you're seeing something of a pattern here with Magda's ability allows you to bring in expensive stuff that you would have a hard time potentially working your way up to and paying for free. You can get around the cost restrictions that you have, say if you got like Mana Screwed instead. Treasure tokens can help with that too, but being able to bring stuff out for free for just 5 mana, I think it's worth it. But pressing on. So, Tyrant's Familiar. 5 colorless, 2 red. He is a dragon. He is a 5/5 dragon with flying and haste. So haste means he basically gets to attack or activate an ability immediately. And obviously flying is exactly self-explanatory. He basically can only be blocked by flyers, and that's it. Nothing else can stop this thing. So he has an ability called Lieutenant. This is something that kind of falls into the realm of like an eminence idea, but in kind of like a secondary role for non-legendary creatures. So, Lieutenant ability, as long as you control your commander, the Tyrant's Familiar will get a +2/+2 and will have, whenever the Tyrant's Familiar attacks, it deals 7 damage to target creature defending player controls. So basically, he is a flying bomber. In addition to not only destroying a creature that you don't want to deal with, or have, say, your ground forces deal with in this particular case, he can still deal damage to your opponent directly as well. Now, when I was talking about Magda's ability bringing in heavy cost things, this one I think will take the cake for this. The Phyrexian Triniform. It is a 9-drop. Yes, a 9-drop. If you didn't catch that, Phyrexian Triniform. Artifact creature, Phyrexian Golem. When the Phyrexian Triniform dies, create 3/3/3. Create 3/3/3 Golem artifact creature tokens. Now, it has an ability called Encore. So what Encore does is when it's in the graveyard, you basically bring a token copy of it on the battlefield. And I believe it's just the token copy, I believe. Then basically the token copy gets destroyed but it's a token copy, which means you get its ability a second time, without an issue. But it's an encore of 12. It's pretty up there. It's a little bit up there. But, you know, that's kind of a thing. But ignoring the encore ability, being able to bring a 9-drop Phyrexian Golem that can really dish out some punishment and make copies and it dies, yeah, sure, no problem at all. So, the next guy we're going to talk about is going to have some cards that can work together with Magda in this particular case. So, because of the fact that a lot of the stuff that I mentioned can make token creature copies. So, and sometimes artifact copies too. Now, so the next creature we're going to discuss in this, Goro, Disciple of Ryusei. This came out of the newest Kamigawa set. It's a Goblin Samurai costing 1 colorless, 1 red. He is a 2/2. Now, you pay 1 red. This is at instant speed. Creatures you control gain haste. Instant speed. Great. Not a bad thing. For 3 colorless and 2 red, create a 5/5 red dragon spirit creature token with flying. Activate only if you control an attacking modified creature. Now, modified came out of the Kamigawa set, but what modified? Yes, correct. For Art B, yes, it is talking Magic the Gathering. Excuse me. So, modified creature came out of the Kamigawa set. So what modified means is essentially you can, if your creature is equipped, if it from an artifact equipment, if it has an enchantment aura on it, if it has any counters on it either. Any of these 3 conditions satisfies the modified keyword here. Now, earlier I discussed about the Ganax Astral Hunter. With Ganax, it just says he or another dragon. Doesn't say non-token. Yes, it's basically the guts of a garage, my buddy. Thank you very much for Art B. Thank you for that. Now, Ganax doesn't say anything about non-token dragons. It just says dragon in general. This is where Goro's ability of making token copies of a dragon, dragons matters. So basically, you attack with a equipped creature, a +1/+1 counter creature, an enchanted creature. You're making a dragon. Now you're getting a treasure on top of it. I'd say that's a pretty good deal for 5 mana, right? Now, to utilize the creatures coming in, there's another one. This came out of Streets of Capenna. That Witty Roast Master. 2 colorless and a red. Devil Citizen. 3 power, 2 toughness. But whenever another creature you control enters this creature, the Witty Roast Master will deal 1 damage to each opponent. So every time you make a dragon, or if you make a token creature, 1 damage to every opponent. Each time. It's not to a limit of, no. So it's, you make a dragon, great. You just dealt 1 damage to each opponent. Now I'm making 1/1 token damage, 1 damage to everybody. And you keep going with that, and it just ends up snowballing. It's a big snowball effect. Now, another great one that you can utilize when making your tokens, and this is for any token, by the way, when you use this card. Idol of Oblivion. 2 colorless, it is an artifact. So again, there is some interchangeable here between some of the cards I'm talking with Goro and Magda here as well. But, so it has a tap ability. You get to draw 1 card with a tap ability, but activate only if you created a token. Now, paying 5 mana to be able to get a card, it's a bit much, yes, but there are other token creators that are a little more efficient and make you feel a little bit better about using this. However, pay 8, tap, and then sack the artifact, the Idol of Oblivion, you get to create a 10/10 colorless Eldrazi creature token. Yeah, a 10/10 for 8 mana. Okay. Sure, why not? Now, other ways that you can utilize some things here, because again, with using Magda, say if you have Magda with Goro or Goro and Magda, again, these guys are interchangeable or can work together. It's kind of basically up to discretion or what you have or how you want to play it. But Ingenious Artillerist is a great one to work together with these two particular types of cards when you're bringing out token makers and such. So it's for 2 and a red, a Human Artificer, 3 power, 1 toughness. Whenever one or more artifacts you control enter, this creature deals that much damage to each opponent. As an example, when I discussed about the Thopter Assembly earlier, okay? If this guy was on the board, Thopter Assembly can come in off of Magda's ability, for example. The assembly comes in, Artillerist deals 1 damage. You reach your upkeep, you bring the Thopter Assembly to your hand. Now you just made 5 more artifact creatures. Artillerist sees those as the artifacts, and now you're dealing 5 damage to each opponent. So essentially, in one go, you just dealt 6 damage to everyone, just on that alone. Same thing with the Thunderhulk. Thunderhulk attacks or enters. Artillerist sees Thunderhulk enter, there's 1 damage, followed by the 3 tokens that get made after that. That's 4. Then you're attacking with Thunderhulk, and he's making tokens equal to its power, so you're making 3 again. So therefore 3 more damage. That's 7 damage over the course of a single turn. 7 damage on a single turn if you manage to get the haste and enabling going. It's pretty solid overall. And when you're talking about a life total of 40, 7 adds up pretty quickly. Reckless Fireweaver. This is another one that can take advantage of artifacts as well. Yes. So Reckless Weaver, it's basically the alternate. It's kind of a smaller version. Artillerist does basically the accumulative total of artifacts. This guy does 1 damage each time. So again, he is for 1 and a red, Human Artificer. This is the Reckless Fireweaver. Human Artificer, power 1, toughness 3, pretty much the flip side of this. So whenever an artifact you control enters, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. Now it's incremental damage. So, just like I discussed before, where the Artillerist is dealing, say, Thopter Assembly, for example, he'll deal 5 damage when 5 tokens come in. This one will deal 5 damage in singletons. So basically, it's Thopter comes in, deals a damage. Another Thopter, damage. Thopter, damage. Thopter, damage. Until you satisfy the condition that, only 5 things entered. Now everyone had lost a total of 5 life. That's how he works. But for just 2 mana in comparative to 3, which is understandable here. Now, another great enchantment. This is just an enchantment that can come in and work with Goro's ability. Where Ancients Tread. For 4 colorless and a red. This is an enchantment again. Whenever a creature you control with power 5 or greater enters, you may have this enchantment deal 5 damage to any target. Goro's ability makes 5 power dragons with 5 toughness. 5 mana to dish out 5 damage every time you use his ability. I think overall that's a pretty solid run. So, again, and you can do this also with Magda too, because a lot of the times the high cost cards that we're talking about in the budget kind of stuff here usually have some great power and toughness but also with great abilities attached as well. So moving into the finality here of this, and then we're going to talk about some common cards that you can also tie into all of these as well. This one's an interesting one, for me at least, because it's a spell slinger style kind of thing, but it can do a lot when you do it correctly. Emodane, the Pyro Hammer. 2 colorless, 2 red. She's a human knight, 4/4, so power 4, 4 toughness. Whenever an instant or sorcery spell you control that targets only a single creature. That's important. Keep that in mind. Single creature only, right? And it deals the damage to that single creature you choose. Emodane deals that much damage to each opponent. Now, I really looked into some of the interactions. Thank you very much. I appreciate that for Art B. It's nice, yes. It is nice when you have someone else to kind of watch and listen to and such. System. Hey, I know what you meant, man. I get you. I understand perfectly. So, now, this is a card. This is an interaction I wanted to dig into a little bit because there's some stuff that make you go, wait, it's targeting something, but you get a benefit for it. Can it work? However, if literally what I discovered is that some of these cards, if they have an and in it, or it's very, very specific, it doesn't work with Emodane. Emodane does not go off. First example, I thought this thing would have been nuts if this thing worked in the way I thought it could, but it does not work in the way I think it does. Now, it is Quest for Pure Flame. This is an enchantment for a single red. 1 red. Whenever a source you control deals damage to an opponent, you may put a quest counter on this enchantment. Now, opponent is the key word here. Emodane only happens when you deal damage to a creature, right? Now, you remove 4 quest counters from this enchantment and sacrifice it. Now, if any source you control will deal damage to a permanent or player, this is the second part of this is what really matters. If any source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, permanent being basically a land. Basically, permanents qualify as lands, artifacts, creatures, enchantments. Those are what classify as permanent. Something that's actually here in comparison to an instant or sorcery, which is a one-time effect and it goes away. So if it deals the damage to a permanent or a player this turn, it will deal double the damage to that permanent or player instead. Now we'll get to this, and we'll get to some of the things here. First one I came across for instant speed. Instant speed, spell slinging is basically a term of you have a lot of instants, you have a lot of sorceries that's doing some kind of effect to either a creature or a player. In this particular case, you're dealing it to single creatures to maximize Emodane's ability. So, first one is a great one. Torch the Tower. This came out of, I'm trying to remember the set now. Oh my god. It was the fairy. Oh my god, why can't I think of it now? I'm going to hate myself for it. But it came out of the fairy tale edition, I would say from like 3 years ago. I had the reprint of Doubling Season with the Golden Goose. If anyone out there has played and they know what I'm talking about, go ahead and throw it in the comments here. So, but Torch the Tower, it's an instant for 1 red. It'll deal 2 damage, or it'll deal 3 damage and you get to scry 1. Now, there's a ability on Torch the Tower called Bargain. So you sacrifice basically a creature, and then you get an additional effect. Or an alternate effect, essentially. It's kind of like having an alternate cost, like Kicker, or like discard a card, like those kinds of effects. But, so if you don't do the bargain, you just get to deal 2 damage. But dealing 2 damage to a target creature then Emodane does that to each opponent, right? Or you get to deal 3 damage, and then you get to look at the top card of your deck, which is what Scrying does. You get to look at the top card of your deck, and you get to decide if you want to keep it on top or put it on the bottom. Pretty good. It's kind of basically top deck manipulation. Another one, Unholy Heat. This is another great one. This is also an instant for a single red. Deal 2 damage. Another one, this one has an ability called Delirium. What Delirium is, it's from a much older, like I remember Delirium back in the early 2000s. Like we're talking 2005, like 2010 probably even. But basically what it means is if you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard, you get this effect. Doesn't matter what cards they are, it has to be 7. 7 and more. So you will deal, you get to deal 6 damage instead if you have, oh yes, you get to deal 6 damage instead if you have 4 or more card types in the graveyard. My apologies. That's right. That's what Delirium was. I'm thinking of another ability, and I can't think of what it is now. I'm going to come across it, I'm sure. However, still, dealing 6 damage for 4 types of cards. So if you have a land, a creature, instant, sorcery, 4. Those are pretty common ones to have in a graveyard. Now, another one is called Seer for 1 and a red. Instant, deals 4 damage. You're going to hear a lot of these for Emodane. It's going to be a really common theme. It's dealing 4 damage, target. 2 damage, target. That's pretty much what you're going to see and hear about her. We'll get there, though, because this is something that's going to be very, very interesting. Because of how Quest for Pure Flame goes, with having during the turn it's sacrificed, it deals double the damage to the permanent player instead. So, I gotta double check it, but I could be wrong. But essentially, any source you control, which means every single source of power, every source that's dealing the damage, is dealing double, and which in turn is being double, and basically Emodane is also dealing the same double damage to everyone else. Matters pretty big because it's also basically snowballing as well. This is a great one. There's 2 abilities on this that I will list on here for Abrade. This is another instant that deals, it's 1 and a red, instant speed. You get to deal 3 damage to a target creature. Or destroy an artifact. Destroy a target artifact. It's a pretty good one. Volcanic Spite. Here's another one that's a target one. 1 and a red. Instant speed. Deal 3 damage to a target. And you may put a card from your hand onto the bottom of your library. And if you do, draw a card. That's a great thing. So having cards that can grant you other things as well, such as extra draw or deck manipulation, or maybe getting something from your graveyard to your hand. Having those kinds of extra abilities never hurts. So, what else do we have here? So, other ways that try to utilize the instant and sorcery spell singing effects. I have at least a couple of these in a couple decks that I own. Now, Fiery Inscription. This came out of the Lord of the Rings set. For 2 and a red, the ring tempts you. The ring tempting is a mechanic. Basically, you choose a creature that gives you your ring bearer, and it'll get certain abilities. Now, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, the enchantment will deal 2 damage to each opponent. With Emodane's stuff stacking the way it does, that's going to matter. So, we'll go into... So, I'll just backtrack a moment. Now, I'll backtrack a moment. So, as an example, you have Fiery Inscriptions on the field. It's dealing 2 damage to each opponent, right? Now, let's take Seer. It's the most basic one. So, with Seer, you deal 4 damage to a target creature. Emodane triggers, you deal 4 damage to each opponent. Now you just dealt 2 more. You just dealt 6 damage between Emodane and the Inscription. just on that alone. It's all going to matter. It all rolls together and all stacks on each other over time. And if you have the mana and to keep this going, it can go very, very quickly. So again, big enough numbers in a 40 total life point game. Yeah, it's gonna get nasty fast. Now, here's a good sorcery one I came across. Nahiri's Wrath. It is a sorcery, 2 and a red. As an additional cost, discard X cards. So X is like you just choose a number of cards in your hand, and that's what you choose. And that's what you're discarding to your graveyard. Nahiri's Wrath will deal damage equal to the total converted mana cost of the discarded cards to each of up to X target creatures or planeswalker. So X is any number. Again, you choose. This is a card that can really finish a game, perhaps. So if you discard, let's see, what's a great one to do? Gosh, I wish I could think of it. Let's say, I think there's a card that's like 7 mana. There's a card that's 7 mana in red. It's a heavy damage dealer. I have it in a Spellslinger deck myself. But you discard that, just one card, you have 7 damage. You can now choose one creature. You are dealing 7 damage to that creature. Fiery Inscription, because of every instant and sorcery, is going to deal 2 damage. That's 2 to every opponent. Emo Dane just dealt 7. That's 9. You literally almost dealt a quarter of the damage of someone's life total in one spell. Now, speaking of, we're going to keep going here. Strangle is another. It's a sorcery for 1 red. Deals 3 damage to target creature. You're going to hear a lot of these. Trust me, these are just some examples. Flame Slash. Sorcery again for 1 red. Deals 4 damage to target creature. Another one that's going to be fun here. This is repeatable damage. It's slow, but it's repeatable. Arcblade. It's a 3 colorless, 2 red. Deals 2 damage to a target creature. Then you exile it with 3 time counters. However, you can suspend it. This is where time counters matter. Suspend means you get to play it outside of exile. It comes in with 3 time counters. That's why it says exile with 3 time counters. But essentially what happens is every upkeep, you count down 1 until you reach 0. The spell activates. You can deal your 2 damage to a creature. Emo Dane deals 2 damage to everyone else. Fiery Inscription deals 2 damage to everybody else. And then it goes away for 3 turns. There is a card, I think it's Joyra's Time Bug. Joyra's Time Bug has an ability that allows you to add or remove time counters. And I believe it's a tap ability. Unfortunate, but it's a tap ability. But cutting down a single one, or removing 2 counters to have it come in, say, a turn, maybe even 2 turns sooner, I'd say that's pretty good. And it's repeatable. Again, repeatable damage from 1 card. Slow, but again, slow and steady can sometimes win a race for you. Now, another great card that can take advantage, very much like Fiery Inscription. It's not as much damage, but it is a creature that can defend you. Electrostatic Field. 1 colorless and a red. It is a wall, 0 power, 4 toughness. Walls cannot attack. They just are literally walking bodyguards. That's what walls are. But whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. So again, having the cards to work in conjunction together and then basically having it as a snowball effect really helps. Is really what the mono red aesthetic is all about. Turn and burn. Now, this last card that I'm discussing with Emo Dane, this one's interesting. I do have this in a Spellslinger deck that I own. However, it is a targeted one. It is specific to a target. but it is not an instant or sorcery. This is an enchantment. It's Aria of Flame, 2 and a red enchantment. So when this enchantment enters, each opponent will gain 10 life. Like, oh, thank you. But whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a verse counter on this enchantment, then it deals damage equal to the number of verse counters on it to target player or planeswalker. Yeah. So, this is where Surge Conductor can come in handy when you start getting artifacts and whatnot. But if you don't go the artifact route with Emodane to try to utilize, I don't know if there's other ways around it or not. But again, you could do this as a slow turn and burn. So Aria of the Flame, I think the most I've ever gotten it to was 5. That's the most I've gotten it to before someone basically took me out. Yes, they are. Walls are very old, indeed. They are indeed very old things. So, but Aria of the Flame, I think I've gotten the most counters on it is 5 in the Spellslinger deck because, again, turns and everything else. But still, 5 damage? Dealing 5 damage to one person? But then you have Fiery Inscription dealing another 2. That's to everyone. So the one person who got 5 just got 7. Emodane just threw out another chunk of damage. Yeah, they take the brunt of it. So it's one of those things where each time you do this is when it goes off. That's the other thing too. This is another thing that's a snowball effect as well. Now, some common cards you can put amongst all of these. Or any red deck you have. So whether it's singleton or a dual, triple color, you can definitely use these. So, big score. For 3 colorless and a red, it is an instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you discard a card. In exchange for discarding a card, draw 2 cards, create 2 treasure tokens. So you get 2 cards in place of 1. So you are up 1 card, but you're also up 2 out of the 4. You at least get half your mana back that you spent on big score. Not impressive, however, still functional. I think that's a great thing to have. 2 extra things of mana out of your treasure tokens in a back pocket for later on, especially for your instants. Expedite. Instant. Target creature gains haste until the end of turn. Draw a card. That's a great one as well. This is a big one. This is basically removal. Blasphemous Act, a classic. Basically had become a classic the moment it came out from the Crimson Vow set. 8 colorless and a red, though. But, caveat, it is a sorcery, so you can only do it on your turn. That's sorcery speed for you. But this spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield. That is everyone. All creatures. So if you have a token player in your table game that you're playing that's going off, yeah, this will ruin his day. Deals 13 damage to each creature on top of it. Now, Emodane can take advantage of it, but it's a board wipe. It's essentially the general term for Blasphemous Act. Board wipe for 1 red. After it's all said and done with cost reduction and all that. And it's a sorcery, though. So you get to take advantage of Electra Field. The Electra Field creature card, Fire Inscription, Area of the Flame. You get to take advantage of those. Burnout. Now, this might come as a surprise to some of you. There are red counter spells. They exist. I wasn't sure, but when I came across them, I was like, this is great. Burnout. 1 in a red, instant speed. Counter target interrupt spell. Interrupt is a very old term as well. Interrupt is essentially the original term of instant speed. But continuing on, counter target interrupt spell if it's blue specific. But you draw a card at the beginning of your next turn's upkeep. This is a red version of oh my gosh, the blue counter spell that does something very similar where it counters a spell Next upkeep, you're drawing a card. It's the red version for a little less mana. This one can go in every single deck because right now it is under $1 and it's a crime. It is a crime that this card is under $1. The Torian Mauler. 2 colorless, 1 red. Shapeshifter. 2 power 2, toughness 2. This is where it matters when you're talking about Goro or Magda. It's a changeling. Changeling means it is all creature types. Yes. That means if you don't have Torian Mauler in your hand, Magda can get it for you for free because it's seen as a dragon. Then, of course, you also have Goro. You have Ganex. Ganex will see the Torian Mauler as a dragon when it enters because of its changeling ability. Now, whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may put a 1/1 counter on this creature. So it's basically the red version of the Mana Gorge Hydra. Mana Gorge Hydra has the exact same thing. Every time an opponent plays a spell, it gets a 1/1 counter. So, these are just a few of the cards that are part of the commonality that you can string across any red deck you wanted. Now, the whole thing, I'm very glad that I'm able to do this series, and I'm really glad if anyone out there has been able to come into this with a sense of, oh, I don't have to break the bank to build something that's decent. You really don't. I built some decent dollar, like what's called dollar commander decks. So under $2 commanders, and then every single card was like 10 cents a card, and getting 100 cards with mana, and most mana is free. Because a lot of card shops or even game stores, they'll have a collection of mana for basically people who come in and like, hey, I'm looking to get a mana base for this deck. Do you happen to have any lands? Yeah, here's a big box of it. Go ahead, pick what you'd like. Most will not charge you. There are some that do, but it's like a penny. It's like a penny a card. Most are free. 90% of the time, it's like free for land. Nothing hurts with that one. But I hope that those out there can get some enjoyment out of listening to me ramble on about certain cards that do excite me. They make me go, holy crap, why are these cards so dang cheap? Because they're really, really good in the right situations. But it is situations, but it's still really good. So, the next season will be season 2. It'll be about dual lands. Ha ha ha. Like I said, when I first started this, I think it was like the first episode, and I'm like, wait, season 1, monocolor. Season 2, oh God, I couldn't have done that again if I tried. Season 2, dual colors. Season 3 will be the tricolors. And then season 4 has 4 color, and then season 5 will be what's called Woo Bird, which is all 5 colors together. And I think that could end up being the shortest one, potentially, or not. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not sure how many I can come up with, how many I'll find, but it's always also fun to kind of hunt down and do the research and go and have like those revelating moments of, oh my God, how nuts can this get? Oh, it can get that nuts. Or, oh, well, can't get as nuts as I thought. Thank God it can't get as nuts as it does. Now, anyone who comes on and is watching today, who's watched today, thank you very much. I appreciate it very much so. Anyone who is subscribing, thank you. Anyone who is sharing, thank you. Commenting, thank you very, very much. It all adds up. It all matters. And I am very grateful to all of it. Very, very much so. And I hope, once again, to not only entertain, but also bring information, bring you ideas to kind of go, oh, this is interesting. What can I do with this? So the dual land ones, I hope, will be just as informative and just as entertaining. So thank you again, everyone who is with me on this. Thank you, everyone who is supporting me on this. And hopefully my goal hopefully this year was to reach 500 subscribers this year. That'd be great. If not, hey, I still have the goal, whether it's this year or another year or another year. So I'm still going to be doing the Warhammer builds. The next, so we're in the month of March, tail end. So the first season premiere of season 2, talking about dual lands, I'm probably going to put out, let's see, I'll probably put out 4 options for dual lands to start with and go from there. I'll probably start the same way I did with the first season, which will be starting with a combination of white. So there's Boros, which is white and red. There is, oh my gosh, there's white and blue. And I wish I could think of Azorius. That's the one. The Azorius colors, as it's known. That's white and blue. Then there's Celestia, which is green and white, or white and green, depending on which way you want to look at it. Let's see, white and green. See, I got white and green, white and blue, white and red. Oh my gosh. Or oh gosh darn it. Orzhov colors, white and black. There we go. Orzhov colors, white and black. Anyone else? That's it, I think. Yeah, white, red, white, green, white, blue, white, black. I think that's it. Anyway, I'll start with at least those 4. And whatever comes out of it, that'll be the first one to start for the season opener. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm probably going to put a poll on my YouTube channel, on the YouTube channel post. Probably also I'm going to put out on at least a couple of Magic the Gathering posts that chats that I'm up on to put out a poll on it. And yeah, thank you all again. I hope to see you all in the next season, and I hope you all get to enjoy more so on season 2. Thank you so much. I will catch you all another time, and thank you again. Have a great evening. Catch you next time.